Hey, it's Spencer Fry from withcoach.com, and you're listening to the 360 Entrepreneur with Jan Ilunga.
This is episode 182, and today we talk about understanding prospects. Here we go.
Welcome to the 360 Entrepreneur Podcast, the show for entrepreneurs and small business owners who dream big and want to do bigger. Join some of the world's top entrepreneurs, internet marketers, and best-selling authors as they share their inspiring stories, their struggles, and give actionable tips that will help you build, grow, and promote your online business. Here's your host, Yanni Lunga.
Hey there, how's it going? Welcome to this new episode of the 360 Entrepreneur Podcast. If you've been with me before, you sometimes hear me say that certain episodes are really must listen. And this one is definitely one of those. It doesn't matter what type of business you are, or maybe you're planning your business. Today's topic is critical. We're going to talk about understanding your prospects, and you're going to get some advice and strategies you can implement to really understand people who somehow gravitate around your business and who may be perfect customers for whatever product and or service you are selling. Joining us today is Spencer Fry, who is the co-founder of a fantastic platform called Coach, and you're going to hear all about Spencer's journey and what Coach is and what it can do for you in the interview. The show notes for today's episode can be found over at yanilunga.com/episode 182. All right, time to get started. Here is the interview with Spencer Fry from withcoach.com. Hey everybody, in today's episode, we are joined by an entrepreneur and business guy turned programmer. He's the co-founder and CEO of Typefrag, Carbon Made, Uncover, and a company that is really becoming one of my favorite ones. And you're going to hear more about that in a second. The company I'm talking about is called Coach. The site is withcoach.com, and it's an all-in-one platform for solopreneurs, coaches, and marketers. And the platform allows you to showcase your expertise, engage with your audience, create and easily sell your online courses and services without all the hassles and headaches. I'm so pumped to welcome on the show Spencer Fry. Spencer, how's it going?
It's going really well, and thanks very much for having me, and appreciate the intro.
Man, it's my pleasure. And I was telling you before we started recording that, I'm really impressed by what you, David, Kravit, and the rest of the Coach team are doing. And I think that before we dive into Coach and all the things people can get from Coach and things like that, I have to ask you to take a step back and tell us a little bit more about your entrepreneurial journey and the story behind Coach.
Sure. How long do you have?
We could go for the entire week. So okay, once upon a time.
Yeah. So, my quick-ish backstory is that I've been an entrepreneur for about 15 years. Mm-hmm. I've never earned a paycheck from anyone other than myself, which is always weird to say.
Wow. And, yeah.
So like you mentioned, Coach is actually my fourth startup, and I've had 3 successful ones in the past, and I just love building products more than anything. Like, it's just like my biggest passion. Mm-hmm. Talking to customers, making their lives easier. It's just always been something that I love doing.
Love it. Thank you. So obviously you said 3 different startups. Coach is the fourth. I'll make sure to link to everything, including your site, spencerfry.com, in the show notes so that people can learn more about your story and about all the projects you've been involved in. So let's talk about Coach for a second, Spencer. So I said the site is withcoach.com. And I know that you guys originally started out as a sort of platform for coaches. So mm-hmm. the main focus was on scheduling. And I remember I accidentally came across Coach, but then you have been really pivoting. And now, as I said, it's really a all-in-one platform for entrepreneurs, solopreneurs, coaches, marketers who want to showcase their expertise. And it's so easy nowadays to create online courses, digital products, so everybody can do almost anything on Coach. So this is kind of my ranting about Coach, but for the listeners here, Spencer, what is withcoach.com?
So yeah, I mean, as you said, we've kind of evolved a lot over the past 12 months.
Mm-hmm.
I've actually been working on it now for about 2 years, but it's changed a lot, especially in the last 6 months. We started really kind of just trying to help you in all aspects of your business,
Mm-hmm.
and you being like individuals. So we're not focused around small businesses or large businesses. We're focused around solopreneurs, creators, marketers, entrepreneurs. And our focus has kind of shifted from more of the scheduling, invoicing, that kind of thing, and more into digital products.
Mm-hmm.
And really, over the last 6 months, our focus has been 100% on digital products. So whether that's online courses or ebooks or audiobook downloads, that kind of thing, and everything else supports that. So we saw basically a need for people to have not only a digital product, but all the things that go with that.
Mm-hmm.
So the email list, the drip emails, the newsletter blasts, the landing pages, the email capture, just kind of the entire ecosystem under one brand, because it just makes it a lot simpler for people.
Yeah, absolutely. I couldn't agree more with what you just said, Spencer. And I think that sometimes that's one of the issues with platforms, and not only when it comes to online courses, but for many other things, that we may have to host our course on platform A, and then the email list is on a different platform, and then the landing pages, we build
Yeah.
them with a third tool. So it can get a bit complicated, and sometimes there may be some small glitches or kind of conflicts among different platforms. So things can get a bit frustrating sometimes.
And
But
and even with like APIs and certain
exactly.
platforms talking to each other, a lot of the data still gets lost. But if you're sending, say, an email newsletter on Coach to a landing page you built on Coach that feeds into your course, we can
Mhm.
really show you the entire extent of the sales funnel and show you like where things are working and where things aren't. Whereas if you're using like 3 or 4 different platforms, you don't kind of get that sort of data.
Mhm.
So you don't know like what's happening in terms of what's working, what's not working. And so we saw this opportunity where if we just do it under one platform, we can kind of give you full intelligence into everything you're doing and also make it just like a lot easier.
I love it. And yeah, I mean, you said it. Sometimes there is a disconnect, but with Coach, things are easier. And it's important, if you're here with Spencer and I, it's important, I think, that we bring this up, Spencer, because somebody may be, okay, Spencer, Jan, what you're talking about sounds great, but I'm already using a different platform. It can be Teachable, it can be something else. And maybe I'm looking at the site right now and it looks interesting, but it sounds like a lot of work to make the whole transition from a different platform. But I know, Spencer, that you guys have a concierge service that can help people with that, right?
Yep, that's right. And actually, like a lot of people, like in the hundreds, have moved over from other existing platforms onto Coach, and
Mm-hmm.
it's actually a lot easier than you think to re-upload your videos or for us to help you do that. Just last week, I was helping someone who had like a WordPress course builder, and I helped move all their videos over, and it really didn't take that long. And I think it's you got to plan for the future, and you got to plan for all the ease of use that you're going to get from using a platform like
Mm-hmm.
Coach. So yeah, there might be a little bit of upfront headache or moving things over, but after that, it just becomes pretty easy, and all the other benefits you get kind of outweigh the oh man, I gotta like relearn this new platform,
Yeah, and actually, Spencer, what you just said is one of the things that I thought about when I moved the content of my course, How to Create Your First Funnel, from Teachable onto Coach, because I thought exactly about the future. I was like, yeah, there are many things I'm not happy with Teachable, and I found a platform that I'm gonna be happy with because there are many things about it that I like. But yeah, there is this thing that now I have to move stuff. But as you said, if we look at the long-term benefits, there is no doubt that making a move like that, it's a good move. So you're hearing this, whether you do it by yourself or you need some help, Spencer and the rest of the Coach team are there to help you. And Spencer, on your site, spencerfry.com, there was an article that I thought would be good to mention for this interview, because you talked about a step-by-step guide to user research. And obviously,
hmm
you having been on the ground for quite some time now with
Yeah.
Coach and with different companies, you are quite familiar with how to do user research. So do you have any advice on how we can get started with that?
Yeah, I mean, I think just stepping back a second, I think
Mm-hmm.
that The thing we've done best at Coach over the last year is really like talking to users. And I think everyone says, yeah, like talk to your customers, talk to your customers. And I think people do, but they do it on a very surface level way. Whereas David and I literally spend 10 hours a week or more talking to customers just all the time. So we feel like more connected to their needs. And I think that's one of the reasons why people like and use Coach and think of us as this great new platform is because we're actually engaging with all these people. So anyway, that's just like a quick rant. But
yeah, no, sorry, Spencer. I want to cut you off there for a second because it's a very good point you rose. And I mean, I told you this, and I think I tweeted about that. The fact that some weeks ago I was on Skype with David, so one of the Coach team, and we talked for over an hour. And I said that, I was really impressed by, obviously, David was doing what you just said. That's the Coach philosophy. So really understanding what people like me may need from Coach. And I was really impressed. So I really want you, if you're here with Spencer and I really want you to take Spencer's words close to heart and really start to focus on really communicating with your customers, because the one-on-one communication is going to open so many doors that you have no idea. Right, Spencer?
Yeah. And a lot of it is just listening. And it might not be, I think a lot of people think, I'm going to talk to a user and they're just going to give me a bunch of feature requests.
Yeah.
And, that obviously happens. But I think more than anything, it's listening to like the sentiment and what they think about problems and like what's troubling them, because oftentimes they don't maybe know the best answer for their problems. But like if you listen to enough problems, then you start to kind of figure out an answer yourself that you can then, release as a feature, for example. But the way that we typically do it is we just talk to all of our customers, as many as possible. Everyone who signs up, we go and find out as much information as we can about them, which becomes harder and harder as like our signups increase.
Right.
But then every once in a while too, we kind of step back and we then do very deep user research interviews with probably like 4 customers every 30 days or so, where we really spend time getting to know like everything about them, their business, kind of building like a profile around who this person is, and then sort of continuing to use all that information to benefit our roadmap and like where we're heading. And a lot of that too is not only just with our feature set, but it's also with our messaging on our website, which if you went to with Coach like 6 months ago is a lot different today than it was 6 months ago. And it's going to be a lot different in a few months because we've learned a lot more, So, but yeah, so I mean, user research is it's been what has made, I think, us successful over the last year.
Okay. And Spencer, let me ask you this, because you said you guys try to communicate with as many people as possible. Sometimes you do more kind of in-depth conversations. But I think that for a surface level, that it's not as good as in-depth, but it's still something, at least to get started. On your site, I know you have, I believe is Intercom, the name of the tool. So it's basically a sort of chat widget that pops up. So can you tell us for a moment, what would you say are the benefits? Maybe if you can explain, because I didn't do a good job at what Intercom is, and what do you see the use of something like that, obviously for you and Coach, and as well as for the listeners who are here with you and I.
Sure. So for the last 6 months, I was actually using a live chat tool called Chatleo.com. But we just switched over to Intercom about a month ago because as our business is growing, we needed sort of more of a mature tool. But regardless, basically, I think the biggest reason for having live chat is that you start to learn what your customers' needs are as they are having them. So, you know what I mean? So like basically you could jump on a call, like we could jump on a call in an hour that's like planned. And then, you'll have all these questions that you've built up and you want to ask me. But if I can talk to you live while you're using Coach, or you're debating signing up for like our pro plan, or you're like on our pricing page or something like that, I can answer your question at the point of contact, which is really important. So like 1, you get an instant answer. So you're like really happy about that. But number 2, I can respond to your question like immediately so that you don't kind of churn out and like leave the site. So I think live chat is actually unbelievably important.
I love it. So, Spencer, you mentioned the tool you were previously using. Now you use Intercom. So, if you want to see this in action, just go to withcoach.com and then you're going to see it. I believe it's on the bottom right of your screen. You're going to see it pop up and you can type in questions as a user. So, it's definitely something I really want you to take a moment and think about, because it's something that definitely is going to allow you to start a conversation with people who visit your site. And Spencer, do you have any other advice or best practices or anything like that for when it comes to user research?
I think obviously doing it is number one.
Right.
That's like the most important thing. And then everything else is just kind of, you can only go up from there.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's important to really like engage people over email as well, and not just write like canned responses. Like that's always something that I found is really important to me.
Mm-hmm.
So it's a reason why we don't use like a support desk. We just do straight to email.
Mm-hmm.
Live chat is another great touch point. Another thing with live chat too is some people will be like text messaging me back and forth. And I'll just say like, let's jump on the phone.
Right.
That's always like a lot easier. Like, wow, you want to actually talk to me? Like, no one wants to talk to me.
Yeah.
But I think it's also important to, take everything with a grain of salt too. So, just because Jan says build this feature or I'm leaving, like, doesn't mean you necessarily build the feature, but you use that as like, oh, well, like maybe there's 25 Jans that really want this feature. Like maybe this is something that it's worth building. So I think it's really just like communicating with your customers, and then everything else just will flow naturally from there.
Okay. Yeah. And actually, one thing, Spencer, you said obviously it's important to be able to have a sort of filter so that, that, as you said, if one Jan wants a specific feature, but nobody else wants it, maybe it's not, it's not a smart idea to spend your time to actually create that feature. But I think what is good also about try and talk with your potential customers or customers that you already have is that by talking to people, you're going to not only identify trends, as you said, Spencer, that when you talk with many people, you start to see what are the problems people often talk about, the feelings they have and things like that. But you're also going to start to see the terminology they use. And I think that's very important, because then when you maybe want to create a sales page or you want to tweak your headline on your homepage or something like that, a person is going to feel like, wow, I really feel like Coach or Spencer or Jan or whoever is really talking to me, right?
Yeah, no, totally. And we actually, not super often, but maybe every 2 to 3 months, we'll send a couple like one-liners that we might use on our homepage, and we'll do like a list of them, and we'll send them to like 25 or 30 people and just do like a quick survey and see sort of what resonates, just around your point of like writing your sales page language based on how other people talk. But one other thing I want to mention too is also be aware that even if 25 people are asking for a feature, it doesn't necessarily mean that that's the feature that you build.
Right.
So that's also important to keep in mind, because like you do have like your own roadmap, you do have your own vision, and user research should support that roadmap and support that vision, and continue to like you should continue to tweak it based on what you hear, but it doesn't mean that you should like veer off in another direction necessarily.
Yeah.
Just want to make sure that's clear, because I think a lot of people are like, well, 25 people told me to build this, so if I build it, I'm going to get 25 paying customers, but that doesn't necessarily always translate into a good feature for you to build.
Oh, yeah, no, yeah, absolutely. Thank you for making that clarification, Spencer. I think it's a very good point to keep in mind, and obviously also keeping in mind what is your bigger picture in the first place, so that you know how to stay the course. And Spencer, I want to ask you about the, let's call them best practices for creating a coach page, or actually a page on withcoach.com. So I'll link to mine as an example, but basically it's so that on Coach we can have a short description of who we are and what we do, and then we can basically on that page we can feature the different courses we may sell, or digital products, or things like that. So with your experience, maybe also talking with users, or simply by looking at different user pages on Coach, what would you say are the kind of do's and don'ts, if there are any?
Yeah, sure. So actually, like speaking of Coach Concierge, which you brought up earlier, is that one of the benefits we provide for our paying customers is we actually help them write their copy and help them
Okay.
do like tweaks and profile changes. I don't know if you've used this yet, but
No.
it's actually been like super helpful. We've had people that have increased their conversion rate by like 300% just
Wow.
from yeah, like it, because an issue I think is a lot of people have a really hard time writing their own bio or their
Hmm.
own description, and they need sort of like a second set of eyes
Right.
to jump in there and be like, hey, like I think this is a little bit long-winded. Like let's shorten this up. But general advice I would say is like shorter is better.
Hmm.
Get to the point as soon as you can, and kind of front load the good stuff. So like, for example, for me, like I'm a 4-time entrepreneur. So like in my description, I would say, 4-time entrepreneur, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And instead of saying, hey, I'm Spencer, I grew up in Connecticut and now live in New York, and so on and so on, because no one wants to read like huge blocks of text.
Hmm.
But I think in terms of creating courses and creating products on Coach, digital products like ebooks, it's always really important to start small.
Hmm.
A lot of people kind of get overwhelmed by, I've got this long vision, this big vision for this course, and here's my massive outline, and I'm going to record all these videos, and it's going to be great. A much better approach is to start with maybe an ebook or start with like a 3 to 6 short video course and just
Hmm.
build from there. Because again, like we were talking about talking to customers earlier, the sooner you can get something out and the sooner you can get feedback, and the sooner that you can hear what your customers need, and the sooner you can kind of continue to build on that course and make it more and more successful.
Yeah, thank you for the tip, Spencer. And I mean, you heard it. If you just sign up for Coach as you were listening to Spencer and I, and you need some help, the concierge service can also help you with that.
And my email is spencer@withcoach.com. And like I consider myself the fastest email responder on the internet. So if you email me, I promise to email you back within 5 minutes.
Okay, well, so you heard it. You
That's a
can
challenge, by the way.
so get your chrono ready. Email Spencer Fry right now and check out how long he takes him to reply. But you said it. It's important to go straight to the point, and I like the fact that you emphasize the importance of just getting started and getting it out there, because again it goes back to some extent to what we were talking about a moment ago, that once we have people start interacting with our content, we're going to start to see how they feel about it. Okay, this is too long. This is too short. It would be better if it was presented in a different way. And again, just like for the user research, you don't have to follow every single piece of advice or feedback you're going to get. But if you start to identify trends, it may be a good idea to follow them. And for me, Spencer, an example I can share is for the funnels course I mentioned that now it's available on Coach. Initially, the structure I had for the video, it's a video course. So the structure I had was different because it's really like step-by-step stuff that I show there. So initially I wanted to kind of pack things together, but then after giving people a preview, many people told me, yeah, it would be better if each video was actually broken down into, let's say, 3 or 4 videos, so that if I care only about the third step of the process, I can go directly there. Whereas if you condense step 1, 2, 3, and 4 in the same video, I always have to try to look for the spot I'm interested in. So I just wanted to share that, because I think what you said, Spencer, about just putting things out there, it's important. Also because I think that, and tell me if I'm wrong, Spencer, but I think that as entrepreneurs, we are never 100% satisfied anyways, right? With our products.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think I've ever been satisfied in my entire life. Like ask my girlfriend. But like honestly, also, if you don't have a product, that doesn't necessarily mean you can't start. That's another big misconception.
Mm-hmm.
And that's part of the reason we built the landing pages feature within Coach, because that way you can actually create a landing page. You can put up a blurb, you can start pre-selling for your product, or you can just create like a single video or a single PDF or something like that and give away something, get email addresses back, start to kind of build up your audience. So that's also like another big thing is that you don't have to start with a full product. You can also start with a landing page, and that's perfectly acceptable and works just as well as a good starting place.
Great. And Spencer, there is another thing that I think you guys do well over at withcoach.com, which is your blog.
Thank you.
Yeah, no, you're welcome. And I mean it because obviously, I read different blogs, but what I like about your blog is that you cover different topics, which I dare to say 9 out of 10 people who use Coach are really interested in. And yeah, sometimes it may be an article about a new feature that you have just released, which makes sense, that kind of introduces the feature to the world. But sometimes are really practical advice, tips, strategies for how to create better landing pages and things like that. So that's also something I'm going to include in the show notes.
Yeah, I think also on that topic, even our feature announcements, the way that we write them, and I think this is something that more companies should do, is that we tell you the why and the reasoning and how you can actually apply it to your business. So it's not just like, here's new feature X. And, look at it. It looks awesome, doesn't it? It's more like, this is how you can apply feature X into your business. And here are some examples. And these are the benefits and those sort of things. So even if you get the occasional feature post, it should still be beneficial for you. Mm-hmm. But I actually take like a ton of pride in our blog. And I think it's like really, really, really good. But I'm sure a lot of people say that. But we try to really go in depth with every piece, as well as kind of break it up and make it fun and entertaining and useful. Like number one thing is useful. Right. And all those articles go through a ton of rounds of revision. And I'm really happy with the blog.
Well, I can tell you, I really like it too. So keep up the good work. And you heard it in the show notes. You're going to find the links to everything Spencer Fry and I have talked about, including his site, the Coach platform, the blog, the article we mentioned, the step-by-step guide to user research, and many other things. And one of the things you're going to find also there is Spencer's email address that Spencer mentioned and his Twitter page at Spencer Fry. So that's SpencerFry. So if you want to connect with Spencer, you can do it by email, you can do it on Twitter, and you can even do it by simply going on withcoach.com, right?
That's correct. I'm always manning the live chat. So if you want to try it out, I'm happy to chat with you there too.
Love it. So Spencer, this has been a fun conversation. I want to say, first of all, thank you for taking the time for stopping by here on the show.
Thank you very much for having me.
And I want to ask if you have any final things you want to share with us, or maybe any final words of advice for people who maybe have been listening to you and they're like, yeah, Coach sounds interesting. I kind of want to get started with the platform, but I'm not sure where to start from.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so 2 things. So first I'll say, if you're looking to get into, digital products, the best thing to start with is with a landing page. Mm-hmm. And we built a really simple landing page builder on Coach, and it's free. So start there. Like, that's a great place to start. But in terms of advice and just general advice, I actually wrote an article about this on my blog a couple of days ago, but it's all about persistence. And one thing that I feel that a lot of entrepreneurs and solopreneurs and marketers and so on need to be better at is being more persistent and just not giving up. Right. You're not going to be successful every day. You're not going to be successful every week. Mm-hmm. But what's important is just to stay in there and hang in there, because I really believe that everyone has something to sell. Everyone has something they can offer people, and it just takes time. Like, there's a lot of people building a lot of things and selling a lot of products, and there's a lot of noise out there. But what people really appreciate is you continuing to improve your product, continuing to improve your course, and just like hang in there, and you're going to eventually make it. I 100% believe that. So I'll just leave it there. Just be persistent, continue with what you're doing, and don't give up. And if you are ever feeling down, email me, and we can jump on Skype, and I'm happy to talk you through it.
Man, you rock. Thank you so much, not only for the inspiration, but for what you just said, for really opening your doors and say, hey, if you need to talk, just email me. And of course, if you have been here with me on the podcast before, you know that I think exactly like Spencer. So whether it's Spencer, myself, or both, or any other person, really, don't be afraid to reach out. And more importantly, as Spencer said, keep going, never give up. Spencer, thank you so much once again for being here and for everything you, David, and the rest of the team over at withcoach.com do. You guys rock.
Thanks, man.
All right, we are back. As you heard during the interview, Coach is a platform you can use to sell and deliver any type of digital products. If Coach is something that sounds interesting, I would encourage you to check out the show notes page over at yanilunga.com/episode 182, because that's the page where you'll find the links to everything Spencer and I have discussed during the interview, including Coach, obviously, and I've used my affiliate link in case you're interested in using that. You find the link to the Coach blog, and I've also linked to my Coach page so that you have it as a reference in case you are planning on joining Coach and you're wondering what to include in your page or what your page should look like. You can check out mine. I've also linked to an interview I recently did with Annie, also from Coach, where we talked about online courses, podcasting, entrepreneurship, and Coach. So that's something that Spencer and I didn't talk about because the interview I did with Annie came after we recorded the interview with Spencer. Thank you so much for joining Spencer and I in this new episode. I really hope you enjoyed it. And more importantly, I really hope that you do gonna take the first steps to really understand your prospects better. Yanilunga here. Thanks again. I'll be back next week. Take care.
Thank you for listening to the 360 Entrepreneur Podcast. For more tips and tools, head over to www.yanilunga.com.